I think one of the most absurd positions anyone can take is they're a vegan for an ethical reason. It's preposterous. You could do it for a medical reason, even though I don't know what that reason would be, but maybe you can't process, meat, you can't process proteins like that. But to do it from an ethical reason is absurd. And the reason I say that is I have plowed a field. It is carnage. It is 12 feet of carnage. And every single plant that you eat is going to be tilled into the ground in some capacity. So you're going to kill everything when you plow that field.
Famous conversation that Kevin Costner has in Yellowstone.
That's why I wrote it. Yeah. People have to understand. You have to take ownership.
That same thing, Ted Nugent has said this on this podcast. He said, if you want to kill the most things, become a vegan.
Yeah, 100%.
If you're thinking about individual life, if you don't think that one life equals one life, if you think that small things aren't as valuable as large things, that's a totally different discussion, and that's a weird discussion. But if you think that all life is sacred, well, what about the lives of the ground nesting birds, fawns? Yeah. What about the lives of rodents, insects? All those things are getting demolished.
The average organic avocado farm in Central California is going to kill, on average, around 19,000 ground squirrels a year. That's not counting the billions of bees, because they're going to bring the bees up from Brazil to pollinate the trees, and then they're going to fucking die. They're not sending them back anywhere. They're not keeping them in some. No, they're gone. They're going to spray with some organic, which is probably just like compressed cayenne pepper. They're going to spray the trees. They're going to kill every bug, every plant, everything. All you got to do is drive I-5 through the San Joaquin Valley, and you'll see plenty of almonds. You'll see plenty of all these different groves. You won't see any birds. You won't see anything else. Yeah. They fucking killed them all.
Yeah, that's a hard pill for a lot of people to swallow that think they're doing something that's ethically correct.
Well, if you look anywhere in the ecosystem, take man out of it, virtually everything is living at the expense of another organism, to the degree that if a certain weed grows up over the grass, it's killing the grass. If the tree grows up, this little sapling grows up over the grass, it's killing the grass. If the grass grows up before the weeds, it kills the weeds, kills the flowers, kills this. Everything is in competition with everything else. There is not a vegan fish. There's not a vegetarian fish. Every single fish, every frog, they're eating another organism to survive. Every one of them. And that's what we did for as long as, whenever we split from apes, that's what we did. Apes still do it. They talk about, they eat fruit. They eat fruit till they get a hold of those little freaking panzer monkeys. Yeah. And then they go to town. Those chimpanzees.
They didn't even know about that until that David Attenborough documentary.
Yeah.
You ever see that one?
Yeah.
Where they're eating
they go to war. If you ever wonder where our violent streak comes from, watch chimpanzees.
Yeah. Have you seen Chimp Nation?
No.
That's another great Netflix series.
Yeah.
Fuck. Incredible. They kill each other. And I asked the guy, I go, how often do they kill monkeys? He goes, we really didn't show how many times they killed monkeys because they do it so often.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's literally their preferred food.
Yeah. They're going to eat the leaves and the fruits and everything until they need that protein.
Yeah, they eat the fruit because it's easy.
Yeah.
But if they can find monkeys, they go after monkeys.
Yeah.
And they eat them alive. They just start chewing on them. There's a video of this monkey's like screaming while this chimp is eating him from the hips down. Just rah! You see his little face, and it just looks so much like us to watch him just get eaten alive by a chimp who also looks a lot like us. Is just so fucked.
Yeah.
That's the real nature. That's not vegan nature. That's not this bullshit utopian artificial paradise that people have created in their mind that they're doing if they're eating vegan. It's just not true. Unless you're growing all of your own food in your yard, unless you have a contained environment where you're composting and using mulch and you're making sure that everything that you grow, you're picking it yourself, you're just fencing it off to keep squirrels from eating it. If that's not the case, you're involved in murder.
But even then, you don't think you're going to have what happens when the grasshoppers come.
Right.
And they'll get through that fence.
Oh, yeah. And they'll devastate your crops. You're going to have to kill the grasshoppers.
You're going to kill the grasshoppers, and then what are you going to do when the squirrel gets in? You can't fence off your trees.
Yeah.
So what are you going to do? Well, you're either going to give away a lot of your crop, which you're not going to want to do, or you're going to come up with a way to, or you're going to run the squirrel off. Okay, well, then you just killed it because you ran it out of its habitat. So it just dies a slower death.
Yeah.
So you don't... We don't get to exist without another organism fueling our existence. Period.
I know. It's such a hard thing for people to accept.
Well, I think it's because they're so dissociated. I talked about it in Wind River at the very end when he's giving this speech to, I don't know if you've seen that one or not.
I didn't.
Okay. So this guy, it takes place in the wilds of Wyoming. And there's a young woman who's an FBI investigator, and she comes and she's investigating the death of a Native American woman. Culminates in a big gunfight, and she gets wounded, but she doesn't die. He visits her in the hospital, Jeremy Renner's character, who's from this area. And he says, luck doesn't live in the wilderness. It lives in the city. Whether or not your car is the one that gets carjacked, whether, someone's on their cell phone when you're walking through the crosswalk, that's luck. But out here, you survive or you surrender. Wolves don't kill unlucky deer; they kill the weak ones.
Yeah,
and that's
the reality. That's the reality of our life.
When you can walk from your condo to Erewhon and buy your $19 almond butter, and never ask yourself. Now, I can tell you exactly right now how much water it takes in a state with no water to make one almond.
Right,
it takes 3 gallons.
Yeah.
So if you want to amort it out, one almond takes 3 gallons. Now, how many almonds does one almond tree have? 10,000? Well, do the math.
It's nuts.
Do the math. Nothing comes without, there is an